So let me start by saying thank you to everybody who has been coming to my page, my Instagram, my Twitter, and been like, what is happening? Where is our review? It is super humbling. And I'm super grateful. Y'all, it's been a lot going on. I have some great things coming up, but I've been super busy on another project. And the last few videos that I've recorded, I don't know what is going on, but they've been corrupted. I definitely have recorded videos since the last time you guys saw me, but the last few videos that I have recorded, they've been messed up. So I don't know what happens is you'll start to play it, and then by the time you get a few minutes in, the video will be like, yeah, it's 3 hours long, and it starts to, so I just don't know, you guys. And so it happened the last few times I recorded a video. The first time I got frustrated. So then I waited a few days, I recorded a new one. It happened again. I waited a few weeks, and it happened. So I am trying to figure that part out. I'm recording this video, hoping that you guys will be able to see this video. And hopefully giving you a precursor to kind of bring you up to speed to where we are now, with a new episode coming on, and hopefully you'll get that review tomorrow. I'm hoping and praying, y'all. But I do not take it for granted that you guys want to see the videos. I do not take it for granted with any of that. So a few different things. Since the last time we've talked, it's been a lot that has happened on the Real Housewives of Atlanta. I am not going to give you episodically what that is. I'm going to bring you up to speed on the things that have occurred. So since we have seen each other last time, it has been a lot. I think by the last time we saw each other, the ladies might have been at the brunch that Marlo was doing, was the Gucci brunch. And everybody was having, they were trying to bring it all together to be able to kind of work it out. What I will say is at that brunch, I think it was very interesting. You see that Kandi and Marlo really at that brunch realized that they're not going to get it together. And it doesn't happen. I think Sonya at that point draws her hand in the sand. I think it's between that and the bombing event. I think Sonya was saying, she's being neutral in this whole thing. But as a viewer, when you're watching, I have moments where I'm looking and I see Sonya say, I'm being neutral and I don't want to have to choose with my friends and this, that, and the other. And then at a moment, Drew is talking about Marlo, and she's, I think calls her or something. And Sonya is quick to be like, don't do that. But if you flash back to even when they had the conversation with Kandi and they're talking about the ghetto she brings and talking about that, she didn't stick up. But then you get back to this brunch and they're having this conversation, and Sonya joins in and becomes the Johnny Cochran of Marlo's situation and wants to tell Kandi, hey, what do you mean? You shouldn't be saying this about Marlo. And she's like, I don't need you to be her lawyer. And I think that was when, as a viewer, you can see that there is a distinctive line in the sand that was drawn. And I think that part is, it's unfortunate. I think with the dynamic of Marlo, I don't know how much of that will ever come back. Marlo definitely feels, that, oh my God, I got to make Kandi accountable and they can't talk about it. And I think that as a viewer, I'm looking at this and I'm saying, okay, you feel like that each person on this show must turn up and must do everything. And I don't think that that's realistic. So I think that's very hard for their dynamic. I think you get Drew, who is going through a lot, and I don't think everybody realizes that. So even by the time we get to Portugal, Drew has her things that are going on behind the scenes that we don't really realize. And I think it has created this person that we're starting to see. Will I go ahead and say this part though? I don't think that the ladies are incorrect when they say Drew's stories sometimes be not the most factual. Drew is definitely one of those girls that she lies a little bit. No, I think that's just the best way to say that. She lies. She'll say something and then the story just won't add up. And then when you even look at some of what she portrays, she's had all these assistants, but then, nobody has stuck. And then where are these assistants now? And, life is so busy, and then where about the gym? Like, certain things just don't add up. It's like, is this the next movie? Like, I agree with them when they're saying end scene. So I think that you have that. You have Sheree, who's trying to figure out this dynamic with her kids, her baby's father, and then she has this relationship, and with the business side of things, it's going left, and right. You don't know what's happening. You have Kenya wanting to have another baby, but these frozen eggs from Mark, and I think Mark has not been the greatest of co-parenting with her. So I don't know that I would ever have more kids with someone who I can't co-parent with. Candy is trying to balance this with doing this movie with Todd, but she's busy with the other things. She's not there for the ladies, so they're feeling some kind of way. Marlo's trying to figure it out about dating with this new guy and working on, I guess, with her coach on the things that she says. Courtney, I don't know. I don't know, y'all. I don't know. Sonya is trying to figure out about having a new baby, but she's also dealing with these things in her family. And I think it's a I think it's a two-edged sword with her family. Her family provides her the opportunity to do a lot of the things because they are there and they're able to live in the home. They're able to help take care of her kids. They're able to, everybody's able to do those things. But I don't think that in a lot of relationships, people understand what another person is doing for them until that other person stops. So Sonya's family may not understand what she's doing for them until they got to get out there again and pay their own mortgage and provide their own way. And it's not, as easy. Sonya may not understand the value of having her family in the home until she got a new baby. She wants to go out here and be able to film this TV show. She wants to go out here and do more commentary. She wants to do this. Ross is out there doing his trucking and company and his moving his business. But until the family's not there for that support and she realized how overwhelming, I don't think she would realize how hard this can be. I think that part is like, you never really get that part. Like I said, the ladies going on this trip, it's kind of interesting to see them after they came back from Alabama being able to go on this trip together. Drew and Sheree have their moment, which is interesting. And then it leads to Candy and Drew having their moment as it relates to the Kiss the Girl situation, which spreads back into the city of Atlanta. After they, went on the trip, Candy had to come back. And even Courtney made some comments as it relates to when they were out of town, when Kenya fell, and some things. And all of these things lead back to them getting back to Atlanta. Again, y'all, I'm summarizing these just to bring it up to date because I do feel like I owed you some of this. I had full videos for some of this stuff, but it's impossible to kind of rehash it. It's kind of older now. But some of this is summarized. I do have more commentary as it relates to some parts of this, but I wanted to kind of get the summary part of it over. I definitely think that the relationships, when they get back to the States, you start to see certain things. And I also feel like the production side of things, it's some things that weren't shown that I think could have, helped give some clarity to situations and all that I can discuss. But I think that, I think it's very interesting that these things come back to United States. Drew and Candy have this commentary about LaToya kissing a girl. LaToya kissing Drew and Drew kissing LaToya, which I guess they make this thing, and Drew is saying it was made up for a movie and it never happened. All of a few years, we've talked about that this kiss happened. You can go back and look at old videos where I'm interviewing Ralph. You can go back and look at old videos that was been on Speak On It. And all of these times we've talked about this kiss possibly happened. I can understand if you don't want to bring it up because you are in a marriage. But then once it's brought up and we're out here, you shouldn't go as far as to continue to say someone is lying when, 3 or 4 years ago, it was very much known. I don't think it should have been as big of a deal. I don't think that things should have spiraled, as much as they did when they start to talk about this kiss. But, it happened. Courtney and Kenya, you start to have this conversation, I think, as it relates to, Kenya's fall and what Courtney said. I think that's very interesting to see how this continues to play out with this dynamic after Courtney said about the karma. I think that was a very interesting conversation. That was her perspective. So it's interesting to see how this goes. I think outside of that, Sheree and Candy have had these things back and forth as it relates to Sheba Sheree and the business. And I think it's very interesting that every woman on here has a commentary about Sheba Sheree and has made a commentary about getting the items taken back and all of these things. But Sheree is like, nah, that didn't happen. Or, Sheree is very much like she doesn't appreciate Candy saying it, like it's a different standard. So I think it's very interesting when you start to look at things that way. As you get to see the Peach Social. All the women came out. Great event that I was able to put on at the Atlanta Selfie Museum. That happened the end of fourth quarter of last year. Great event. People had fun. It was to support the new Peach Buzz that you can get at bedroomcandy.com. They were able to talk about the idea of what's happening with this movie. With the kiss between Drew and Latoya even came there. And I think that part kind of hopefully got it to some closure with it, but I don't know if it did. Yeah. As it relates to that, we got to see Cynthia Bailey come back. I'm super glad Cynthia was able to come back, hang out with the ladies. Cynthia is always very refreshing. She gives you housewives. She gives you big hair. She gives you amazing look, So I think it's always good when you get to see Cynthia. Some of the things that probably have happened with this episode or outside of this, as it relates to talk about. So let's break some things down that, you guys always want to hear more insight. So as it relates to the things that have happened many episodes ago with Marlo and her nephew and all of that, I want to make sure that some things are very clear. As it relates to that. As it relates to that, Sarah, I'm so unfortunate that the things happened with her nephew. Her nephew did work at the restaurant for a small amount of time. He was hired right before Christmas. He didn't start working, I don't believe, until February, end of March, top of March maybe, or, maybe right before the pandemic started. So he did come to the Christmas party. People did meet him there, but he didn't start working till then. And by July, end of June, maybe, by June, I think it was, he was no longer working with the restaurant. So about four months. The picture that they are showing is incorrect. It is not from Old Lady Gang. It was different. If I said that in another video, I'm sorry. I think the bigger thing is, I'm going to be honest, you guys, it was very hard for me to watch some of those episodes and then to kind of rehash it because I know how much it can affect other people. And I always say this as it relates to my staff. My staff, it's, a few hundred people between all of the locations that work at Old Lady Gang. And I feel like some of these ladies do their best to tear down those businesses and those people because they're selfishly only thinking about their quote unquote business that may not have any employees or may not be a real business. Like, can you name anybody that works for Sheba Sheree or Lay Archive? You can't, because they don't have employees. They don't have people that depend on their check for their livelihood to support their family and their kids. We taped a scene that was never shown that I was in, and I'm not gonna lie, I was not happy with the things that were being said and how it was being portrayed, that location or the other locations are this crime-ridden thing. If anything, I will say this, and not just because I work there. I have a business that does HR and payroll services for a few different places. It's about almost a dozen throughout the metro Atlanta in different places. Not all of them are, of course, Candy and Todd's restaurant. That's not the case. I won't list the other ones that I do this for. But with that, all of these businesses hire a variety of people. You hire people who may not have the cleanest background and all, because you are also giving them a chance, but they may also be very skilled. Usually they're very skilled at what they do, from cooking to all of these type of things. That is not new for the service industry. I think people are painting this picture of something that's different. If you know the service industry, you have people who have those backgrounds. Nobody is talking about the jobs and the hundreds of jobs that this business and other Black businesses are providing to those people that may not be able to get a job and that may not be able to support their kids and are made to be dependent on a system to support their kids if they're not able to work. But nobody is speaking on that. They're trying to paint a picture and say, hey, this is what is happening. You're hiring these people. These are bad people, blah, 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 and painting a picture when not all people who have a checkered background are bad. Not all people who work at restaurants or in the service industry are bad. So I think that is a very bad lane to drive down when you start talking about that, and that's what's being painted. It's being painted to kind of make a point, but I don't think that that's right. I think that the people who are serving at any of these locations and restaurants, they need their money. The people that are working in the back of the house, who are the cooks, like, Marlowe's nephew who was, they need their money. He wasn't getting his money from Marlowe, so he had a job. And who was the person that was able to provide him the job? It happened to be the Tuckers. And I think that part, nobody is talking about that. If things were so great, then why wasn't he working at Lay Archive? Why didn't you know that he was working at Old Lady Gang and you had to ask the question? Nobody is thinking about those things, but I want to make sure that when we start to look at those things or anything, we look at the people that are being affected. Those harsh comments affect people. If nobody's coming in other businesses, then nobody's able to get paid to support their kids. But when people say stuff about Sheba Sheree, who is that affecting? Nobody. There's nobody except you're paying for a service if you get an order or not get an order that is going to be shipping those off, and you finally got the service. You got a corner in a location, and that's not a bad thing, but you don't have hundreds of people who are depending because somebody made a comment that the shop was not up. It wasn't. Nobody is saying anything about Lay Archive. Again, nobody goes to Lay Archive, but you have this narrative. You're saying your nephew met someone there. He was in the back. I want you guys to tell me, and I'll just ask you, when you go to Houston's the next time, I've said this a billion times, how many times do you know the cook in the back of Houston's, unless it's the chief chef that came out to you because you thought his food was amazing? You don't. So I don't know that it's realistic that these things happen the way that they're being portrayed on this show. But I think that in this whole thing, it's the underlying narrative is people are like, guess what? This person needs to show up to work. This person needs to be activated. Nobody on a reality show is ever meant to be the same. If you have a group of your friends, are all of you the same? They're not. So I think this weird thing that people should be the same. If you go to a job and you have Susie, who her job over there is to answer every call that comes through that call center. And your job is to log every call that comes into the job center. John's job is to, guess what? File everything that you logged that came into that call center. Then each one of you have a job in the ensemble of that call center, but it's not the same. So just because someone else's job is not the same as yours does not mean that they're not doing their job. If Marlowe's job is to get on TV and act a fool, that's her job. If you have Candy's job, which is to get up there and show a successful businesswoman, a family, to kind of be the voice of reason, that's her job. If you have Sheree's job to get up there and be messy and be the bone collector and, bring this OG, this is what I do a little, that's her job. If Sonya's job is to be like something fresh, something younger, I got this new family, I want to expand my family. I'm also this, amazing track star. That's her job. It doesn't mean Sonya's job is to get in there and to be activated and to be spreading mess. That may not be what Sonya's job is. And I want us to stop thinking that because you're on a reality show, that it makes you quote unquote boring or not activated because you're not acting the same way that someone else acts when they are showing their life on this show. If you are living your truth, that's your truth. And nobody else can tell you what that is. I've been on a reality show. And I think the problem is that everybody expects everybody to be something that they're like, this is who you're supposed to be because you're on a reality show. And that's not the case. I was on Candy and the Gang. We were not all the same. We all were living our lives being who we were. That's who we were. Nobody was saying, you got to be like this, you got to be blah, blah. That's not how life works. So I think we should reevaluate what we consider to be present and authentic and reality when it comes to people. Because I watch a lot of these shows and I see people and I'm like, that cannot be how they really are, but they're feeling like they got to turn it up. Like on certain shows, I'm not going to be on like Love and Hip Hop. I feel like they got to turn it up or else they're not going to be seen on camera. And this is not what Housewives should be or any of these shows. So I think we have to reevaluate those things when it comes to how we make this narrative and understand we're all different, but we can all coexist together. On an ensemble show, we're all supposed to be different. If we were the same, if everybody was you know, the over-the-top character or personality on a reality show, it would get, you'll be like, I don't even know, it's too much going on. Everybody can't be that. You had other shows, it can be family shows where you may have a sister who's over the top and the other sister's very calm. The other one's very, you know, quirky. Everybody's different. Let's normalize not having to be toxic to be entertaining. Let's normalize thinking about other people when we're making certain comments that affect a vast majority or more people than just the one person you're talking about. And let's figure out how to watch these shows and also put ourselves in that perspective of, you can be like, yeah, I don't like them because they're not, I don't feel like how they're being a good friend to somebody, but also put yourself in the perspective of what if it happened to you. That was my tangent as it relates to a variety of things. I'm going to get back to the episode, y'all, but I wanted to bring it today, give you some insight, kind of bring you back into the world, kind of unapologetically speak. I know I may have just been talking about some stuff and y'all may be like, shut up, we don't want to hear this. But thank y'all for watching. Thank you for coming to Unapologetically. Thank you for being a part of this world. Like, share, subscribe, comment. I'm sorry, y'all, it's been so long. I don't have anybody like doing this for me or helping me. And I am just, to be honest, like super stretched to the max on a lot of different things. So I'm trying to figure it all out. Hopefully you guys bear with me, and hopefully this next review will be closer to just the normal review. But again, thank you for watching Unapologetically, y'all.